Hello. Once again, my name is Tim Grady. I'm from the Lawton, Oklahoma, USA, Seventh-Day Adventist Church. Today, we are going to be talking about the difference between heavy equipment, light equipment, what it costs to get a rotisserie cuff repaired or using equipment, what it costs to get an ACL repaired, what it costs to get a torn meniscus repaired in your knee, uh, and so on. This is, again, out-of-the-box thinking. I made a video with a bunch of different ideas. Today, I'm making a video just on light equipment and how to get around and do things differently. Now, we're talking about cranes. I like this guy's idea, but it's poorly executed. I like this guy's idea, well executed. But I do not like these cherry picker style cranes for the garden tractor. Now this guy's got it going on. I mean, but that's a whole different story. There are a lot of ideas. See, here's another cherry or engine puller cherry picker type design, where he just put a plate on the back of his tractor, put it there, and then did it. Not really good idea, but it works. Okay. So let's talk about let's look at this guy's idea. He did a pure right there. He did a pure there it goes. He's lifting a pretty heavy engine right there. He's lifting a standard, I guess, 350, small block Chevy engine out of the vehicle, where it's attached to the plate. And this goes up. Let's see. It's got better pictures of it further down. Okay. It really doesn't show the idea real well. I'll leave links in the description so you can go watch the full videos. But he can move engines around, and he can do a lot of stuff with that. Again, can you lift that engine by yourself? Let me bring me back up. Can you lift that engine by yourself? Can you lift that engine by yourself? Can you move these things around? If you try and move this without this crane or this garden tractor, you can even do this with a small lawn tractor. Okay, there's a lot of ways you can do these things without. My first homestead, I tore a rotisserie cuff. I also later tore a meniscus. I also tore an ACL. I know what those cost in the 70s to repair. So is it less expensive to get this light piece of equipment to move things around your homestead? Yes. Okay. Next concept I want to talk about is time management. Oh yeah, I got to talk about time management. Time management is the biggest failure of someone's homestead. Now, why are we wanting to move to the country? Ellen White says we are to spend time with it is to do less expensive, less time spent in traffic, more time with your family, more time with nature, more time with Jesus Christ. If you're not moving to the country for the right reasons, you will not succeed. I will leave that with enough said. If the Holy Spirit is telling you to move to the country, it's time to move to the country. And you don't want to hurt yourself. You don't want to spend a lot of money and time on things that are not worth your time and effort. So again, a small piece of equipment can mow your grass, can move your whatever. I mean, you can move an 800-pound whatever around your lawn, around your whatever. Okay, this guy has got another idea. He's got a zero turn. He's got a 12-volt winch. He's got a looks like a 2-inch galvanized pipe with a angle iron here. But what he did is he did what's called the gin pole, or G-I-N, or J-I-N, pole crane. So let's go here. This is what his problem was. He has to lift all of these cement blocks out of the way because it sunk away. This, if he would have done a few things differently, it did what he needed it to do. But you can improve this design. One, you can lift this up higher and longer, get the same reach. But he didn't need that reach. All he needed to do was lift it a couple of feet. But if he would have put these guy wires back to the corners here, he could have lifted more weight, had more functioning with his crane. So that's what this guy did. He did a lot of other things with it, but he made it for his use. That's what you have to do, is make it for your use. Now, take this idea right here and take this idea and scale it down to where it's more like this one. Okay. Instead of using all these hydraulics to move it, you get a 45-degree arm out. Okay. And then you have that pivot. You don't need to make it this strong if you're using this crane to lift it. Now, you can make a toggle where it has different pins, and you have a spring pin to hold it in place for the dump. Let's go back here. See this bucket? You could make it to where you pull a string and it dumps the bucket. No hydraulics needed. The same crane you use for your moving things around can be the same crane you use to make a bucket. Again, closer to the 40, since it's not going on the 3-point hitch tractor, you put it on the front of this tractor and have it to where the bucket would lift up by the crane by this pivot point here. So it would come up. Basically, it's combining these two ideas into a, and because you're going to be using the crane like here, or the crane like here, to lift your bucket, and then a pull string to dump the bucket. A zero turn tractor can now turn into a 500 pounds, whatever you want, in a bucket. Okay. Another idea. I did 2 acres with an old rusted out Volkswagen diesel. In one of my homesteads with this pulled behind a Volkswagen diesel Rabbit, rusted out, junk. That was in early 80s. But I didn't use the hydraulic. I used the turnbuckles. I also used it so I could turn a box blade and pull a box blade along and make my driveway done. So instead of using I used the other part of the plan instead of the hydraulics. I used the turnbuckles and used a box blade to pull my driveway and pull it clean and get all the ruts out of the driveway. Again, out of the box thinking. This is a 3-point hitch. You can get very, very inexpensive 3-point hitch items. It turns your car, it turns your ATV, it turns your little garden tractor into a pulling monster. You can now use a harrow like I did and pull behind a little Volkswagen Rabbit back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until I got it all ready to plant. And you can use a little disc harrow. You can get a single bottom plow for these. You can get the box blade and pull off the topsoil with it. There's so many things you can do with this. And it turns anything with a trailer hitch into a category 1 or category 2 3-point hitch. I'm going to show you this so you don't make the same mistake I did. See this forklift here? Don't put that with this. It won't work. You don't have enough counterbalance. It pulls the back of the car up. It pulls the ATV. Unless you're going to put a whole lot of counterbalance right here, then it's not worth it because then you can't pull it with a small item. Use this for what it can be used for. Don't use that. And again, these small cranes can do what you want. Now, here is a concept. Let's see if this will. See here? It just breaks it right up. That's a gas-powered jackhammer with a what do you call it? A clay spade. That's a clay spade. So you can bust up clay and rock and all that stuff when you're digging hard. So if you're digging something with a shovel and you got rocks, you got all sorts of stuff in it, this will break it up so you can get it out with a shovel. Makes all the difference in the world. Here's another one with a clay spade, except that one's on an electric one, or that's a regular shovel spade welded to one of the breaker arms. Here's another guy doing it with a clay spade, digging up the grass, digging on whatever. There's a lot of good ideas in here. Now, this is a nice kit. It is you have here a driver for T-posts, which you can make one. Just get one of these old extra bits at Harbor Freight or some other place that's inexpensive. And you can now weld that to the end of this, where it's cut off here. And you can now drive T-posts. If you get a 1/2-inch plate, weld it to one of these, you can now make it as a compost driver, to compact driver, or compact to drive your gravel down or whatever you need to compact. This has a lot of nice extra features. It has the bolt-on extra barrel, which you don't need if you so you can make that into a T-post driver. Here, this one is kind of interesting. Let's see if it'll play. Here it goes. This is a dedicated T-post driver. This is a jackhammer with a pipe welded on the end. on a very short spade bit. Of course, the dedicated T-post driver, but those are hundreds, if not thousands of dollars. These are $400 to $500, a little bit of welding, a little bit of ingenuity. You can now you have that's the same short that was earlier. You can now take one of these, get an 8-inch round pipe, cut it in half, weld it to one of those bits, hard face weld the bottom end of it, grind it down to where it's at 45 degrees, and you can now transplant trees because you can cut the roots and the rocks and whatever else you do, just chunk right down through, and you now have an 8-inch across. Now I have an 8-inch across, and you just go 6 inches around and chunk, connect the little perforations, and now you can go with your crane and lift out a tree and transplant a tree. Again, light, properly thought out concepts can save your back, can save a whole bunch of things. And here are, again, more garden tractors with different crane ideas. This one's a pretty cool idea. He made a little trailer, counterbalanced it, so it made it long enough so the weight of the tractor counterbalance plus the counterbalance here, and made himself a little mobile crane. That's an idea. Not a great idea, but it could have been much better executed. If he would have used a gin pole with a straight pole, a base pole, and dropped it out, and if he would have studied cranes a little better and what they are. And again, here's another person that used looks like an old Harbor Freight. That's a Harbor Freight truck. That's a Harbor Freight truck bed crane. That's exactly what that is. I just figured out what that is. He welded on a plate to the back. That's a pretty simple, straightforward idea. And there are many, many other ideas on here. Like I said, I like this guy's idea. Now we're getting out of the idea. But those are some of them. Okay. Let's see if I can find this one. See if I can find this one. See here are gin pole cranes. Like I said, if that guy would have put this straight one up and with the pivot arm here, like I say, you can find these all over the oil fields. You can find them just about everywhere. But there was a guy that had a neat little idea. There's another one of a different type of gin pole crane. Here is what a gin pole crane looked like when they did dredging way back when. There's a guy that put a 2.5-inch galvanized pipe with he put it on his trailer hitch, and he put two connecting, and he made a single point to 2-point chin pole crane on the back of his, and he was lifting about 400 to 500 pounds with that, because the weight's not directly on the I can't find it, but it was a really good idea. Again, see if it was under the GIN, because you can spell it JIN or DIN. If I can find that one, it was a really good idea. Oh, here's a decent idea. He's got a two pole to a two where the weight is carried back here on the chains. So he's got a 2-pole, 2-chain. Let's see if I can find this, guys. It was a really good idea. It would help if you could see it. But I'll probably put it in the next light video if I can find it. But there are many. Oh, this one's a good idea. This one's a good idea. Now he's not carrying the weight on the vehicle. He's got enough counterbalance. He's got a way of lifting it up so he can get it on the tractor. He can get that down. And he can probably pull an engine. He can, 800-pound engine. So he can probably move around 800 pounds with this. But again, you could put that on the back of the tractor or whatever. And so I cannot find the guy with the one on the trailer hitch. That was a brilliant idea. So going back through it, we've got the tractors. There are many different ways of doing it. That one guy that went through and just got the Harbor Freight truck bed crane with the hand winch. That was a pretty good idea. We have the gas powered jackhammers. And they're a pretty good idea. This is a whole lot better breaking up the soil than trying to do it with a shovel. This will save you time and a lot of injuries. There's a reason why they call shovels idiot sticks. This is not being an idiot. This is being smarter, not harder. This cadpole, again, can save you. You don't have to use the hydraulics. You can use what's called the turnbuckle, and you can now take a box blade. Here, let's throw a box blade. I can show you that. Let's go to images. Here's a box blade. There are different. Here's a really cheap one. Roll King. You can now pull that behind your car. You can move gravel on your driveway. You can do a box blade with the rippers. Can resurface your gravel driveway. It can build you a driveway, especially if you have this one. And you can now make that box blade tilt so it can make harrows. It can make swales. So it can make a straight cut or a shallow V with a deep V, and you can make it like a 6-way blade on a bulldozer, and you can pull the dirt instead of push the dirt. So with that box blade, here's another version of it. There's lots of different versions. There's ways you can make them out of 55-gallon drums. Here's a lightweight one for, and you see you can turn it so they can crown your driveway so you can run the water off of it. So you can do a lot of things with a box blade. Here's a really cheap one. This goes on a straight pin on the back of your lawn tractor or garden tractor. These are made for the garden tractors, garden or even lawn tractors. On the back of the lawn tractor, they have a place where you can put a ball. All you do is put a pin through there and you pull it through the ball point or the ball mounting point on the back of the tractor. Again, this is just a concept video. I can go into more detail on how to do these later. But if you're trying to get out of the city, and you don't want to spend a lot of money on heavy equipment, you don't have $10,000 for a tractor, you can weld one of these up. You can get a tractor, you can get an old Facebook Marketplace or whatever tractor, and you can build one of these. They're not that expensive to build. And you can build one of these, and you can now have all your category 1 by changing out the bushing here and moving it from the inside or outside to the inside, bolting it in and putting a spacer. You can now do category 1 or category 2 implements. Very, very inexpensive. You can maintain a driveway, you can build a driveway, you can do a whole lot of things. $3,000 to $5,000 with a crane. You could even throw in something similar to this with the crane and a pull string to strip the bucket, and then you back up and reset the bucket to whatever digging angle you want. You can have 3 or 4 digging angles, so you could dig in, and when it lifts up, so even if you're flat and you're getting something, you're scraping something flat like manure or whatever, but when you lift it up, it will also lift up at the angle, so it'll hold it in your thing, and then when you get to where you're going, you dump it. Again, just thinking outside the box. So it's just a different version of this. Cranes on your garden tractors and your lawn tractors easily can move what you cannot move by yourself. So, with that said, I think I'm going to end it here. So, out here.